Agro Center, a fintech or an agricultural technology platform, has since onboarded 46,000 farmers across 5 regions in the country and has helped in improving their income levels. Today we're going to talk to the CEO of Agro Center in the person of Francis Obrikran, and to find out more how they're using cutting-edge technology to help make sure that poverty is reduced among farmers in this country. But before we go ahead on that SME platform today, as we call it, SME narrative, let's take the basic language for today. Hello, welcome back. We go to the stock market to find out what is happening on the Accra Bourse for today in particular. We need to do that is Esther. Esther, you're welcome.
Hello, Edward. Well, today didn't go so well. The composite index went down by 17.47 points. However, the financial stocks went up by 4.14 points, partly due to the contribution of Cal Bank, Republic Bank Ghana, and EGL, yes. And the year-to-date change is 47.03%. Invested on the stock market from the beginning of the year till now, you are having a return of 47.03%. The volume of shares traded today compared to what we had on Monday is relatively low. However, the value of shares is bigger than what we experienced yesterday. So in terms of volume, you're having 321,059. In terms of value, you're having 894,420. As I said, the market capitalization has gone down for today. The stocks that were traded today, we have in terms of losses, Cal Bank lost 0.03 pesos and EGL gained 10 pesos. Fan Milk, MTN Ghana, which drove the losses today, lost 0.02 pesos. Because of this volume, even a small percentage just drives the whole thing down. The Republic Bank Ghana gained 0.03 pesos and Total also gained 0.35 pesos. Although the gains are bigger than the losses because of the volume of MTN Ghana, the composite index went down for today.
All right. Thank you very much. We go for a short break. We're coming back to look at the narrative that is going to be told by Francis Obrikran, who is out there with his colleague, to make sure that they fight poverty and push poverty from the hands from the quarters of the farmers. And that is what we're going to look at by using technology. So we'll go for a short break. When we come back, join me to look at what Agro Center is doing among farmers to improve their lot. Hello, welcome back to Market Avenue. Today on SME Narrative, my guest is Francis Obrikran. Francis, welcome.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
You've left the office and you are on the farms. What are you doing on the farms there?
I think there's an old adage that says the money is in the bush, so we are in the bush looking for the money.
Looking for the money.
That's why we've left the office, we've left the comfort of our offices, and we are on the farms working with smallholder farmers across the country.
All right, so Agro Center, what's the Agro Center? What exactly is or what are you doing?
So Agro Center is primarily an agricultural technology company, which means we use technology in our everyday activities. What we do at Agro Center is to use technology to be able to create value for smallholder farmers in two ways. How do we enable market access for smallholder farmers, and also how do we enable financial services access for smallholder farmers in the remote rural areas?
So marketing and financial services.
Exactly.
Wow. Now, what was the motivation? What motivated you to make sure that you ensure that there's market access and financial services for farmers?
So you find out that when you go to the market, those of us in urban areas, when you go to the market, you have your money in your pocket, you buy food stuff, you go home and you eat. And then most of the people don't know where the commodities come from. They don't even know the typical profile of a small farmer. A lot of these farmers in the rural areas are, even though they are the people who feed the nation, they live in very abject poverty. So the plan was to, how do we enable financial freedom for these smaller farmers by enabling fair trade? Most of the farmers see a lot of middlemen come to these villages, and because these farmers do not have access to markets, the middleman will come and say, how much is a bag of maize? He'll say 100 cedis, but 50 cedis. And because you cannot keep commodities forever, and the farmers are also in a very tight spot, they give it out to this middleman, who will bring this commodity both for 50 cedis to the markets in Accra and sell for about 200 cedis. Who is making the profit is the smallholder farmer. That is why we came up with Agro Center, to be able to help smallholder farmers realize economic benefits from the agriculture that they do.
The name Agro Center is very exciting. Why the name?
We chose Agro Center mainly to be the central point of everything agriculture. So I think when I was brainstorming the name with my co-founder Michael, he said, why don't you call it Agro Center, where everything comes to a central point, where technology creates a central point for farming center.
Wow. So from 2017 to now, you've onboarded about 46,000.
I think the number is even more than that.
It's grown.
Currently, we are hitting a milestone of close to 100,000 smallholder farmers.
Wow, 100,000. Where can you find you in the country? I'm told 5 regions, but would you mind telling us the regions?
So we are in the Upper East region, we are in the Northern region, Upper West, and if you come to Eastern region, we're in the Afram Plains. If you go to Wenchi, if you go to even in the Ejura Amanteng side, you find our presence in all these locations. So we have in mostly every nuclear in the sector.
Now, putting these families onto your platform, coaching, how easy or difficult was it to help them align their mindset to what you had?
You find out that when you do the same thing over and over again, it becomes a norm. And most of these farmers were engaged in activities that has become a norm. And for you to tell them that I can change your life with technology, they don't believe that, because they want to see technology as a physical thing, and they tell you it's through the power of, let's say, a phone or even computer. They hardly want a lot of education, a lot of sensitization, and the farmers will say, show me where see the money, and they're able to know, okay, once I'm able to sell to Agro Center and I can make 100% of what I'm supposed to get, then they are in, then we get a buy-in from them. So a lot of training, a lot of constant capacity building for farmers, and even engaging them at the community level helped us be able to reach the critical mass that we are looking at now.
So how long did it take to take them through that process?
I think for that is an individual affair. You find out that farmer demography and farmer across regions, averagely you find out some of them a month, some of them 2 months, some of them a whole year, because they want to see how the whole thing is going to progress. Even when you are introducing, let's say, a new seed, a new variety to smaller farmers, they want to see something called demonstration. They tell you, okay, plant the new variety you are bringing, let me also plant my old one. I'd harvest. If you have more yield than me, I'll come and buy what you have. And that takes about 12 months. So that is some of these experiences that you find on the field every time.
Wow. Now, let's look at the issue of the kind of technology you've deployed. What exactly are you sure they have the livelihood of farmers?
So our technology cuts across from the enterprise web and then all the way to simple SMS USSD, because you find out that at the community level, you have to bring down the technology to the level of smallholder farmers. So farmers at the community level, either you got an agent who is somehow educated. If you look at the literacy level of smallholder farmers, it's always low. Some of them cannot read, cannot write, cannot even use basic technology. So what you have to do is you have to find a field agent who has had some formal education and then can use smartphone. They run the onboarding of smallholder farmers. When it comes to some services such as information, we usually send that through what we call IVR, interactive voice response. So the farmer will receive a simple call and then he picks it up and then he listens to some agricultural tips. That's the way we've been able to extend our extension advisory service without the need for people on the field. So once we have your phone number, we know the language you speak. Take content into local language and send them to them via voice. Technology is a combination of both high-tech, which is more of the web enterprise, to mobile, to very simple SMS and USSD applications.
So pre-harvest to post-harvest.
Yeah.
Well, let's take us through that. I'm a typical farmer.
Yeah.
I've joined crop trade.
Yeah.
What exactly are you going to do for me?
So let's say you're a typical farmer.
I'm into maize.
Yeah, you're into maize. So we've come to your community. We've done all the noise and the fanfare, and you are convinced. So the first point is to speak to the agent who is assigned within that community. The agent is going to take your data. So the agent, that's what the first part we call the onboarding process. So the agent will take your name, your biodata, your family size, average income, and all those ones. That's the initial base data that we take. Once that happens, and then so then the next phase, okay, I'm going to cultivate. So the farmer says, I probably need a loan to be able to buy seed and tractor services. Within the Agro Center platform, we have a digital financial services platform that institutions who will smallholder farmers. In the past, they wouldn't do that because there was no
the risk
very high, and there was no data visibility of smallholder farmers. But now, because we have all this data on smallholder farmers, financial institutions are now willing to lend to smallholder farmers platform. So you say you want, let's say you want about 1,000.
So you become a kind of guarantee.
A guarantee. So we're a big guarantor for the smallholder farmers to be able to secure loans from financial institutions. So then you go through the process of getting the loans to buy your seeds, input. And the beauty about what we do is we don't give the farmers money to be able to go and buy the seeds. On the same platform, we have service providers, input dealers, tractor operators, all the 9 yards. So once a loan is approved for a smallholder farmer, what we do is we do what we call proximity matching. Within those same people who are input dealers in the community. So what the farmer needs to do is to go with his ID to that input dealer we're working short code, and then look at the farmer's, let's say, loan ID, and then he will disburse what the farmer is. The farmer is picking up 3 bags of fertilizers. He does that, and he gets paid at a stipulated time that we all agree on. So then you go on your field, you plant, you harvest, then you say, okay, now I've harvested, now I want to sell. You go back to the agent again and say, okay, I want to sell to Agro Center. I don't want to wait for the middlemen. So the agent will go through what we call the quality control standards to make sure that your grains are of good quality. They check for moisture content, lactose, which we don't do on the field. They check for weevil and all those ones. Once it passes, they upload all those the cities. So the total amount is calculated. Immediately, you're going to receive payment on your mobile phone through mobile money. Wow. That's how we've integrated all the payments into. Then the maize are transported to a warehouse. The farmer goes home happy with his money on his phone. So now he doesn't have to wait for middlemen to come and cheat him. He can readily be assured of a market to be able to sell.
Wow. And you are denying some people their daily bread. You say they are cheating them.
I don't think it's denying people their daily bread. It's what you call, you're trying to bring price standards across. If you take the government plays key role in determining what the prices are. It's not like that for the crops, and you can't really cheat with sweat. I mentioned that to do business, but you can't make about 200 or 300% profits for smallholder farmer. You find out that these middlemen have to align, because either they join Agro Center and they get access to more farmers, and then it's a numbers game. You are dealing with more farmers where you still have your margins than to be able to cheat them. So it's not really denying somebody their livelihood. We are actually killing and hurting smallholder farmers with your exploitation that you are doing for them.
Wow. So let's look at employment that you'll be able to create in your space.
Yeah. So for us, we are a team of, the team is a combination of both the full-time and the part-time staff. So the part-time staff are mostly the operational field guys. So we have the field agents, we have the scouts, we have those who So we've at peak season, our part-time staff can increase about 60, 65, depending on what we are doing, and the full-time staff regions 40. So we have offices in Accra, offices in the satellite offices in other warehouse. So we operate about 6 or 7 warehouses, which have warehouse managers and all those staff there. So that is the combination we currently work with.
Talking about it's yourself or it's you
mostly rented warehouses, but there are plans to build our own warehouses, because in some communities you find that either the warehouses are very small, dilapidated, or even non-existent. So to bring up some of these world-class activities is incumbent on us to build a warehouse. So there are plans to build some additional warehouses in some of these operational areas that can take about 2,000 to 5,000 metric tons at a go.
All right. Now let me find out, what were you doing before you got about the agro center vision? So
for me, I've worn many hats in terms of employment. I've been in the full-time sector, mostly working within the technology space. I've worked in Isoko before. So Isoko was one of the forefront leaders when it comes to agri-tech. We're mainly looking at market prices. I've worked in other software development companies, and then after I left active employment, I started my first startup with my co-founder Michael. It was not a good center. It was called Swapaholics. It was a digital barter trade platform. You know, here we like to do barter. If you go to Circle, somebody has a phone, he wants this and that. So there was a need for that. We got a barter trade platform. It went well. We were able to take it to an accelerator in Dubai. We were funding for that. We came to Ghana, and then it failed. And then we decided to move into a more known venture, which is agriculture. That came about with Agro Center.
Why did it fail?
It failed because of, I think, 2 reasons. I think one was, it was at the time when a lot of the big players in the e-commerce space has come into the market. We had the Tonatons, we had the people.
Well, where are they now?
These were big people with a lot of marketing budget. They were small teams. So just migrating from our paid platform to the free platform, and then that's how come we failed. Yeah.
But that didn't, I mean, shatter your dream, and you decided to go full blast.
No, so I think if you're an entrepreneur, you must have a tough skin. If one thing fails, you go for another one until you keep coming back and you're able to get it right.
So in terms of funding, how get funding to roll out this project?
Yeah. So for funding, we started off with our own funds first. Definitely, when you start an idea, you have to put in skin in the game. So it wouldn't be much, but once you're able to prove the concept, going from there, you attract the eye of external investors. So the venture capital firms, the angel investors, and all those ones. So for us, we've raised a lot of fund. We've raised some capital, substantial amount of capital from the country. Sadly, to be able to grow this business to support local entrepreneurs.
Or the Ghanaians don't believe in your vision?
I think it's still early stage for Ghanaians to invest in startups. We like to do brick and mortar things. We want to build real estate. We want to take money to Japan and bring spare parts. We want to hold the tangibles. So it's really, when it comes to something that has to do with software and all those ones, you find that most people don't really either understand the concept of investing or are looking for quick return on investment. If you invest in a startup, it takes a longer time for you to realize your benefit. It can fail and you lose your money. So people are not ready to take that gamble. They rather build, let's say, Chairman Hall apartment and rent it out and collect their money, stipends, than to invest in a startup.
It's not because maybe you guys have also not been able to the average Ghanaian entrepreneur out there who has the funds to get on board these kind of platforms.
I think it's a yes and no thing. If you and I don't think entrepreneurs need to work a lot on the. If you like an idea, you like the to invest in. If you take Nigeria, for example, investors coming out of Nigeria, so you can see that the Nigerian ecosystem is far advanced than Ghana, because these are people who want to put in the early money. So most early stage people are not looking for a lot of money. When somebody starts, they are looking for an average of $5,000, $10,000. But you can see that this thing has a potential to grow, where you get to a point where those with the larger muscles will come in and then invest. If you exit, maybe you invested 10,000 cedis, but the exit you are getting about 100,000. That's a lot of good investment, but most people don't understand this principle of investment. And I think it's also very risky, because until a business is about 5-6 years where it's cash flow positive, it's very difficult to tell whether they'll survive or they'll fail.
Now let's come back to an average farmer that is on your platform, crop trade. In terms of value, income levels.
Yep.
How has that improved?
Yep. So based on the impact report that we track our impacts based on, we look at zero poverty, we look at zero hunger, and decent work and economic growth for smallholder farmers. So for in terms of economic financial growth, you find out that before farmers join AgroCenter, most of them are making less than $1 a day in terms of income. Based on the last research that we found out that most of them are even hitting the $2.5, $2.6 a day in terms of average income. The plan for us is to hit $4.5 or $5 a day. That is when we've realized that we've moved farmers from subsistence into a more agribusiness focus, where they move from 1 acre to 5, 6, 7, 10 acres, where there's a lot of economic benefit than doing something that you are going to consume yourself at home.
So let's look at the issue of even the that you're going to put under cultivation. How has that also been, I mean, how have you impacted?
On the same AgroCenter platform, we provide, so I mentioned we work with the Pan-African Savings and Loans, which is a subsidiary of EcoBank, to provide last mile financing to smallholder farmers. So most of them, so farmers within our Farm Plains catchment area, over the last 2 years have received loans. Some of them started with 1,000 cedis, some of them are now doing about 5,000 cedis, which means now they've increased. Now you find that most of them are doing 5, 6, 7, 10 acres, and which is averagely good, because when they're able to harvest and the yields are good, most of them will make very good money that can last them the whole year. And it's something that they are very appreciative of.
Gender equality,
yeah,
is part of the SDGs that you focus
exactly
on. How have you been able to
so the biggest challenge for, and it's a lot of things in place, and this is very common in the northern sector, where women don't own lands. So that's a cultural dynamic. We found out that women are not part of the primary producers. Women either are providing labor on the farm, or when there's a harvest, they assist. What we've done is to use the community grassroots approach. We go to these communities, because the lands are there. There are a lot of arable land that you can find in the communities. We talk to the chiefs, opinion leaders, and all the stakeholders. Then in some cases we lease the land. We can lease about 500, even 1,000 hectares. Okay. Then we give to these women, smallholder farmers, to cultivate as primary producers. So those are ways. And also, so we find out that there's always now as to why women now need to own and then cultivate land as primary producers, instead of just providing labor on some of these farms themselves.
Wow, that's phenomenal. Let's look at the issue of the rains.
Yep.
This year we seem to have a lot of rains.
Yep.
Are we expecting bumper harvest?
Fingers crossed for bumper harvest. Hopefully the timing was good. We've noticed that in the northern sector there were a lot of rains, and too much rain was also very bad. In the southern sector it was quite erratic. But currently we are looking for bumper harvest. The issue has to do with the demand. It keeps growing astronomically.
Wow.
The demand even locally and even internationally, because a lot of our crops go for exports.
We do export.
We don't export, but you find out that some people harvest,
within your system.
They send their yellow maize to China and wherever it is, and it's a way that also impacts on food security. So we pray that definitely we have enough stock for production and whatever it is, as opposed to exporting everything out. Most of our grains find themselves in Burkina Faso, where they go across the borders. Happens, and always looking for money. If somebody comes and then offers him a higher amount to transport out, they will do that. It's always it's an open market system. So hopefully the rates are good, but then we want to pray that the demand doesn't go up too much. That's what creates the shortage in the markets.
Now, how many commodities
yep.
are you involved, or you've been trading in?
Okay, so we deal in what we call the food security crops. Those are the cereals. So the maize, both the white and the yellow, the soybean, the sorghum, the millets, and then we are now introducing rice. So those are currently what we deal in. There are plans to expand into other high value crops, such as cashew, cocoa, chili, and possibly sesame seeds. We are looking at various geographical expansions across the crops also.
Do you have plans to go beyond the boundaries of Ghana?
Yes, so we are very young, but we are very ambitious in terms of what we are looking at is to have a Pan-African approach. We are looking at having AgroCenter across not less than 20 African countries in the next 10 years. The next footprint we are looking at is Burkina Faso. Fingers crossed, we are looking to launch live there by next month. Yes, if that happens, which means we are in a position to now scale to other African countries. So that is a plan we have for Agro Center.
So the African Continental Free Trade Area, I mean, what plans? You say you're going to do 20, but have you really studied the market and knowing what to do as going to be in the hub?
Yeah, so if you check the agricultural landscape across Sub-Saharan Africa, it's very similar. The only difference has to do with some cultural dynamics, the people themselves, but the problems are the same. If you go to Kenya, farmers need access to market, access to finance. If you go to Tanzania, it's the same. So the Africa Free Trade Act is something that we've explored in depth. I've had several discussions with them, even in some of their countries, to be able to bring on this technology, to provide these platforms, to be able to scale and solve some of these issues within this country. So it's a welcoming initiative where we look forward into tapping into 100% to realize its maximum benefit.
Do you regret going to Agro Center?
No. So I think for us, we say we don't have regrets. It's always a learning experience, whether good or bad, we learn. We don't have regrets. It's been both a good... so we look at the good, the bad, and the ugly side. They all come together to form what we call entrepreneurship. So if I have to do this over again, I'll do it over and over again.
You do it over and again?
Yes.
Wow. Do you see young men in that space, especially in the northern sector? Because I'm looking at farming. We normally hear the story, it's just old people, old folk that are in there. But on the field, do you see young people embracing farming as you?
Yes, I think so. If what we collect, so when we're doing farmer profiling, we take a lot of data on their age. You find that a lot of young people are moving to farming now. It's very... housing sector is very common. If you go to our farm plains, the average age of some of these guys are 30, 45. They are the one doing the because they realize economic. Eventually, we are getting there. It's a gradual process. The old guys are still in the game. The young ones are also coming with more aggression in terms of one doing large acres, looking for additional funding to be able to expand their farms, learning on the job, and all to provide some of these quality grains that we are looking at.
So in the next 10 years, 5 years, what do you foresee Agro Center?
In the next 10 years, we are looking at having digital footprints across not less than 20 countries in Sub-Saharan Africa. And I saw you in the stock exchange, possibly listing on the stock also.
Fantastic. That's a good story. Because the Ghana alternative market, the gas is waiting for Agro Center.
Definitely, we are coming, so they should wait for us.
Fantastic. Great. Amazing time with Francis Ubrikran. We've been looking at the SME narrative today. We hosted Francis Ubrikran, the CEO of Agro Center. He's talked about onboarding almost 100,000 farmers, giving them market access and financial services. So this is how we draw the curtain for today. My name is Edward Nyakun. God willing, we'll come here tomorrow. Shalom.